YouTubers, Mike Martins here, Mike Martins channel. Sydney is over from a glittering world city to sand and chaotic wasteland. What went wrong? It was once one of the world's best cities, vibrant, welcoming, and efficient. But this image shows how Sydney has become a wasteland. The central station there, I think. Must be over at the train station there. And this has been happening for years now. And a lot of what happens is when you have, what do you call it, investment properties that stay empty, right? Same thing happened to Paris. Let me bring up this article. I'll bring it up all the time, but some people don't know I brought it up. And so it's Paris, empty homes. And it's an article by Better Dwelling, and you guys should take a look at it. Because Paris fought back, right here, vacant home epidemic. This is what causes vacant home, is because the middle class can no longer afford to live, so the middle class migrates out. And then once the middle class migrates out, they're not collecting that tax anymore that they did at one point from the blue-collar middle-class worker that was taxed on their wages. So there's a lot going on. It's not just the affordability of housing and being bought out of the market. There's more going on with cities like Hobart, housing going through the roof, and other cities in Australia that are doing well, only because of the intermigration within different Australian provinces. Vacant homes are a global epidemic in Paris and fighting it with a 60% tax. So this is what happened, and this is right here what's happening in Sydney. Runaway real estate speculation has been filling global capitals with vacant homes, creating artificial shortages in the world's most sought-after cities. The shortage has made local homeowners wealthy overnight, but it comes at a cost, turning lively cities into empty shells. The city of Paris has decided it's had enough and implemented a tax in 2015. They did not get quite the results they wanted, so now they're tripling it to 60%. So this is what's happening. So I'll go really quick over this. I went over this in trends in the housing market. There's Sydney right there. When you have 118,000 empty homes, look at all these cities. When you have that many empty homes, a lot of people don't understand how it actually becomes detrimental to the city, and middle class and the working poor basically don't stand a chance in the game. So what do? They move to other cities, and this is what's happened to Sydney. So Sydney is happening the same thing. So this pattern is happening all over the world, wherever you see people picking up properties and parking their money, basically. There is perhaps no better symbol of Sydney's transition from the glittering world cities to a sad urban wasteland than the image of tens of thousands of New Year's Eve revelers waiting on chucking rail platforms for trains that never arrived. Just after the welcoming of 2019, the city's mayor transport network failed for the second time that day due to storm on the busiest travel days. So old is the infrastructure and so high the cost of replacing it that the bad weather routinely sees symptoms crippled. When New South Wales Premier gladly, can't even read that, flatly refused to refund people's wasted train fares, it was arguably another illustration of Sydney's rapid downfall. There it is, people. A lot of people really upset that they can't get it. And then it's the collapsing infrastructure. The collapsing of infrastructure is one of the things that's going to happen. So as property prices in Sydney start falling, you're going to see property taxes go up to offset that passive income that the government once received. Oh yeah, you don't have property taxes. You guys have stamp duty taxes. So you'll see that go up. So that's going to have to make up for it. Or they'll just start charging property tax now. Hey, why not? Start charging property tax every month. There's some states in America where they're charging $200-300 a month. And then in the province of Ontario, in the city of Toronto, my mom's paying $800 a month for property tax. If she wants to keep her property, or they'll take it away. It costs a fortune to live in the city, with housing prices and rents well above famously costly locals like New York and London. Overall cost of living has skyrocketed, with groceries and general costs higher than other capitals, while the nightlife has died and dozens of venues have closed. And this has happened also in Vancouver and Seattle too, and San Francisco, where nightlife is completely getting wiped out because the middle class is no longer there, and consumer confidence is down right now to all-time lows, so people aren't going out and spending money on beer anymore. The roads are choked, and the majority of infrastructure problems meant to fix traffic congestion are over budget and well past schedule. And increasingly fed up, frustrated locals are fleeing to other states, particularly Victoria, and the fastest rates in several years. The statistics speaks for themselves. Sydney officially sucks. Just what went so horribly wrong? People are fleeing. More than 18,000 people fled North South Wales in 2016-2017, marking the highest exit rate in 5 years, up from 15,900 a year earlier. In analysis last year, Lee Van Olsen, chief economist of Macro Business, said a number of factors have been pushing people out. The cost of Sydney has obviously gone through the roof. It's one of the most expensive places to live in the world. So, mass exodus of youth, middle class, that have been bought out of the market have moved out. And this is the first time in human history in these countries where Canada, the UK, all of the UK. When I say the UK, I'm taking Ireland and Scotland too. Edinburgh's in a huge heap of problems right now, and Dublin right now, prices are going through the roof because the investors are moving to Ireland. I read an article on trends in the housing market, I think 2 weeks ago, where Ireland's becoming the new haven for foreign investors, and so is Montreal. A lot of younger people especially can't afford to live there anymore, so they're being forced to leave. Secondly, livability is being massively eroded. Traffic congestion, trains, schools, hospitals, and a manner of public services. And related to that, it's just become expensive place to live. Not just for housing, but for day-to-day life. One of those who relocated elsewhere in the country, many headed to South Victoria's capital, Mr. Van Olsen said, which he has seen the rise in intense migration. So there's intermigration between major cities in Australia. And with them playing the oversupply, there's a massive oversupply on the market right now in Sydney and in Melbourne too. There's somewhat of an oversupply in Perth. That's why prices have been plummeting. The boom is gone. The mining boom is gone and sold out to the richer countries. That's a story for another night or another day. So let's go. Melbourne's total population is now expected to overtake Sydney by 2026, passing 6 million residents. In the last year, Victoria had 143,000 people, which is larger than the growth of New South Wales, South Australia, Tasmania, and Northern Territory and the ACT combined. Demographic researcher Mark McCriddle said, a big contributor to that growth, according to Mr. McCriddle, is people moving to Victoria from other parts of Australia, and New South Wales is losing far more locals than it's gaining from states. So guys, I've been talking about this on my YouTube channel, so I want to show this to you guys because I wholeheartedly agreed on what I did and what I did for my family. Hello, YouTube. And relocating. There's my series right there. Living the dream. Leaving the big city for the big move. There's my house there. Paid $260 for this baby. As like 10 bedrooms and 7 baths on a 0.9 acre of land. I do a tour of the house. For one of my live streams. And I did this. And look at this today. It brought tears to my eye. And it's all about me raising my family. YouTubers, good morning. And taking care of my family. And that's me. Every morning when I leave for work, if my son's not at school, my kids are always saying bye to me. Watching me leave for work every morning. Very emotional. And I've been promoting people in Australia that have seen my videos. Many have. And many have told me they have left the big city. And they've taken a cut and pay. I have a lot of people call in from Australia telling me, Mike, I've taken a cut and pay. Like you said, my life is so much free. It's not about money. And that's what I've been promoting. Living the dream. It's not about money. Money means nothing. You know, money is nice because it's a tool. But when it starts taking your life over, that's when you start losing what it means to be a human, like what it means, why you're here on Earth. Maybe we can get very technical, but I'm not going to get technical tonight. Seriously expensive city. The New South Wales capital is among the 10th most expensive cities in the world to live, overtaking notoriously costs of locals in London and New York. London's in free fall right now. London's been in a free fall for 20 straight months, guys, in their housing market, and there's a massive oversupply. I covered it last night in Trends in the Housing Market. And the amount you need to be a resident in Sydney is rising faster than any other international cities. And I discussed this on my I made a video 3.5 years ago called Sydney basically playground for the rich only. Sydney, Vancouver, London, San Francisco, all those cities are just a playground for the rich. The common man, the day-to-dayer that works hard or that put food on his table basically is out of the equation. There are a lot of people have become NPCs in this world. NPCs, non-playable characters. It's just, and that's what's happening. And it's scary. A comparison between Sydney and Melbourne and Budget Direct found the harbour city is more expensive on almost every single measure, from housing to groceries and public transport. Restaurant prices in Sydney are 2.6% higher than Melbourne, while general consumer prices for things like clothing are 9.3% higher in Sydney. Well, let me pause this before I get to... Across the board, locals are feeling the pinch. An iSpolls poll conducted in the Committee of Sydney lobby group found 8 in 10 people believe cost of living has intensified over the past 5 years. A dying nightlife. So I had Anon on the show. Anon was telling me that the nightlife is pretty much nothing, and you have to jump through hoops for a male to meet a female companion. They have to jump through hoops, and it's a nightmare. I'm not going to get to that right now, but dying nightlife. It might cost more to live in Sydney, but money is less and less likely to be spent in enjoying a vibrant nightlife. A controversial lockout law is designed to keep partners safe as they were out to pubs and clubs has instead killed off zones of venues, according to activists. Wow, look at that, all shut down, boarded up. That's like Granville Street in downtown Vancouver is the same thing. And Yonge Street in Toronto is like that too. Tyson Coe, organizer of the Keep Sydney Open group, said a former hotspot like the Darlinghurst and the King's Cross are now ghost towns after dark. Oxford Street in Darlinghurst is basically empty, Mr. Coe said. It has suffered enormously. King's Cross is a completely different place. There are fewer people heading there, and it's a ghost town. Unfortunately, some businesses haven't made it and have been forced to close their doors. Several more are still doing it through barely hanging on. The state government and hospitals like St. Vincent insist that the laws have reduced alcohol-related violence. I don't know about that. I think you need 100 years of documentation to prove something like that. A housing nightmare. So this is what I cover mostly on my channel. House prices might be falling in Sydney at least fastest rate in the country, but it still costs a mozza to nab a pile of bricks. Data shows those hoping to buy or have a home to earn a salary of $161,858 to buy a house without experiencing mortgage stress, or $121,000 for an apartment. Mortgage stress is when 30% or more of your pre-tax income is going towards loan repayments. So that's your total debt service ratio. So they want to make sure that only 30%, because once more than 30% of your income goes towards housing, it's deemed unaffordable. And unfortunately, in Sydney, Vancouver, LA County, San Francisco, London, it's like 60% and 70% of people's income. That's why people are feeling the pinch. Everyone has bills to pay, mouths to feed, and kids to educate. People are struggling to make ends meet as it is. When your mortgage repayments tip over the 30% mark, it means you'll struggle to have spare cash to get through a month on month. So remember the Sydney mortgage prison and Sydney powder keg ready to explode? I did 3.5 years ago. Well, a lot of my videos for Australia, almost like 460, or I don't know, around that much were deleted. And then a lot of them from Vancouver and Australia and all that stuff about the foreign buyers tax and all that stuff. It's all been removed from my channel. It's all been taken off. I've been talking about Sydney for over 4 years now. This summer is going to be 4.5 years. I lost all my, I should have backed up my stuff, but oh well, let's continue. It's not just would-be buyers struggling. The cost of rent in Sydney is significantly higher than other capitals, with a median weekly cost of $550 for apartments and $600 a week for houses. According to analysis consumer comparison website finder.com.au, Sydneysiders can pay an average of $3,500 a month in rent in a suburb located close to the city, up to $2,750 for a place in less desirable area. According to the website, Sydney moving costs, a one-bedroom unit can cost up to $570 per week, while a single room in a share house is between $300 to $400 per week. So the average person in Canada here makes $400 a week working at McDonald's, so it's really tough. Budget Direct found that the cost of renting a dwelling in Sydney is 43.2% higher than Melbourne. There's the retail network failures, the New Year's Eve chaos experienced across the city when train services ground to a halt. Thousands of people packed dangerously overcrowded platform wasn't a one-off. More train delays to cost new revelers $5,000. Oh, more train delays to cost New York, whatever. Throughout 2018, the number of issues of network into chaos, from IT issues, flawed upgrades, and to rain, electrical storms knocking out signals. A new timetable introduced last year sparked days of chaos with indefinite delays and staff shortages. Rail, tram, and bus union accused of government failing the train enough new drivers. So guys, it was a nice long article, but I wanted to get this down pat because I've been talking about this for years. The Sydney mortgage powder keg was a really good one I did 3 years ago, and I went into the cost of living and calculated the price of Sydney, and I've been urging people to leave, and then someone told me the same thing. Well, why don't you leave Vancouver? And I was like, you know what? Why don't I leave Vancouver? I took the down payment I was saving to buy a house in Vancouver, and I bought a house free and clear. 2.5 hour drive away from the city of Vancouver, in the beautiful mountains here where I live. Guys, subscribe to my channel, follow me, my family, what we're up to. I mainly cover the housing stuff, and look where I live. Look outside my store, it's beautiful. I'm gonna open my door. Open my door here. This is a gorgeous day. It's December, it's the first week of January. It's plus 10 Celsius. It's the beautiful winter day. Mountains all around me. Quiet. Small town. I love the small town mentality. I love it here. Mountains all around me. I think where I'm living here, it used to be a lake at one point, like many years ago. And there it is, my store. Anyways, guys, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I'd like to know. You know, I opened my own, I sold my business like this on the coast, and I came out here, and I opened my business here. You know, so if you see me to put up some game reviews or video game discussion, don't panic. It's just part of my channel. Let me know what you guys think. I'd like to know. Comment below. Thanks for watching.